We're joined by head coach Chris Rusiewicz of Guilford College football. They were picked number 1 in the 2015 ODAC football preseason poll with 7 first-place votes. Coach, let's talk about what we saw last year on the field. We'll start with that. As we've got the logjam we see in this year's poll at number 2, but that logjam last year was in the number 1 spot. We needed tiebreakers to sift out from a league standpoint who was going to win the title and who got the NCAA bid. But on field, tell us about what we saw. There was so many teams that sitting there at 5-2 with yourself and Bridgewater and Hampton-Sydney and Emory and Henry, and then Macon just below, and still the other teams down there had won games in the league.
Right. I think when you went into the season, I think we always say, the ODAC, anybody could win it. 1, 2, every game seems to be fairly competitive. Yeah, there are some scores that are lopsided here and there, but then the next week, that team that maybe you beat lopsided or lost lopsided could lose or win the following week, and so there's no surprise that it got to that point. It's hard to separate from this conference, and every game counts. It's like our guys talk about how that Hampton-Sydney game, it could have been the championship outright here and there, and I keep trying to emphasize to them, you lost to a very good football team, and the ones you can't lose are the ones you're expected to win. And we made a long trip up to Shenandoah, and again, another team that seemed to beat one of the champions back-to-back years, in Hampton-Sydney the year before, and obviously us last year. And so anybody can win it. It's just a matter of how you prepare your kids through camp all the way through the season and how healthy you can stay.
There's a reason why you guys were picked number 1 this year, and there's obviously probably several reasons why, from coaching to chemistry, things like that, but the main point that's out in front of people is players you've got coming back. You've got 10 awardees, 9 players that won those awards, with the double award winner being your kicker, Tyler Hunt, who kicks and punts for you. But the one who stands out there is your quarterback. He was the offensive player of the year last year. He was a Ghilardi Trophy finalist. The man has only thrown 6 interceptions the last 2 years, and Coach Clark kind of talked about it best in his interview there, where he saw all 3 interceptions. One was a desperation throw. One was a great play by defensive back. So out of almost 400 throws, he had 1 bad throw that was intercepted last year. Talk a little bit about what he's done the last 2 years and what you expect out of him this season.
What a remarkable player, remarkable person. He sat in my office just a few days ago, and we talked about expectations for this year, and I remember having this conversation with you a year ago where he only threw 3 interceptions with less touchdowns than he had last year. And I remember having to sit down with him at that point. I said, man, if you can outdo that season, it's going to be a great year for us. And but I said, don't expect that. 3 interceptions in 1 year is unheard of. And obviously, he came back with only 3 interceptions to 38 touchdowns the follow that season. And he expects to even follow that up even a better year than that. So you just don't know. The guy, like I said, he wants to win. He wants to be the best at his position. He wants to do it right, and he wants to step up his leadership and do a lot of great things. So, like I said, we're really excited about having him back for 1 more year. And I think that the biggest thing for us is trying to figure out where we're going to go after this year. And I think we're planning on doing that this year as well, and figuring out who our number 2 is.
I think Matt's best friends, other than the offensive line who keep him upright, would be guys that can also do things around him. You've got 2 running backs that were all conference guys last year. Your running back, if you will, by award purposes, with Josh Gow, and then Derek Bell was an all-purpose back, all conference last year. And then one of the number 1 targets in the league, and Adam Smith is also back. Talk a little bit about what you see from that group as a whole, from your offensive quote-unquote skill positions, because I still think offensive lineman is skill. But talk about that part for you.
I think I know you're asking about offensive skill, but I think it does start up front. We are bigger, stronger, and heavier than we've ever been. We are deep in the offensive line for the first time since I've been here. That goes for every position, but especially on the line. So we're very excited about that. But yeah, obviously having Adam Smith make the transition from quarterback to receiver his freshman year, and to see the success he's had in his first 3 years with us, to come back for 1 more year. He's put on about 7-8 pounds since the offseason last year. So we're hoping that he can continue staying healthy, and just continue to catch the ball and make big plays. And then, of course, you got 2 running backs that have the potential to be 1,000-yard backs. Again, talking about depth, but also talking about opportunity in terms of staying healthy. Before De'Eric arrived on campus, Josh was carrying the ball in some games 40 times a game. We don't have to do that to him. We really can spread the wealth, spread the ball, and we really have no selfish players on offense. And you can see that from a year ago with the amount of catches from receivers. Nobody was really discouraged or disgruntled about it. So it's going to be very exciting. I think the expectations for the offense are to do even more than they did a year ago. which is, that's hard to do. But I think with the expectations there and the passion and excitement of the staff, I think we can do some of those things.
With as strong as your offense is, I think some people out there would argue that the defense is the strength of your team, especially with the way it's played over the last several years. The guys you've got coming back this year, linebackers like Hunter Hoots and some of the other guys you have out there, Hunter English coming back this year. He didn't play last year with injury, but back this year, a former all-conference guy. Talk about what you expect out of your defense this year.
Talking about the offensive line depth, I'm going to go right into that with the defensive line depth. I mean, for the first time, our first couple years there, we were averaging maybe 230, 240 across the front of the D line. You go against bigger lines, it's just it's physics. It's hard. Last year we finally were around 290 to 300 pounds, but we lacked the experience. So we had experience the first couple of years. We didn't have the size. Last year we had the size, lack of experience. This year we have basically all of our interior D line back. With the size, with the experience, and the depth is just better than we've ever had. I mean, we feel we have about 12 guys that can contribute and play for us next year. So we're looking forward to camp and the competition to find an 8-man rotation, maybe even a 10-man rotation if we can continue there. Last year we talked about our linebacker core being maybe the weakness of the defense because of the lack of experience and not knowing what we were going to get. Hunter Hoots obviously had a great spring going into last year, coming out of his freshman year, and was a first-team all-conference selection his first year starting as a sophomore. So, he did everything he did the year before, getting ready for his junior year, that he did getting ready for his sophomore year. So again, we're expecting a lot out of him. Daytwan coming back after starting basically for now would be 4 years in and out of the lineup. Hunter English coming back, that experience for fifth year because of the fact that he had that ACL injury. So again, it brings some experience and some depth in our secondary. Jalen Martin was a guy we were looking to replace Satir Stevenson at free safety. We had to end up, because of Hunter English's injury, had to put him in the starting lineup at weak side safety, and he was third in the team in tackles last year for us. So with all that experience, him coming back and being able to take on that free safety role while we bridge the gap for the future is exciting. And I think there's just a lot of excitement. I think our defensive experience and depth, it's just that's the thing we're preaching as a staff right now, is that we are so deep across the board with experience that we're not really anticipating any freshman to have to be in the 2 deep. We have a few that are coming in that we think may break into it, but the point of it is it's not expected and not necessarily needed this year. So we're really excited.
Let's stay on the defensive side of the ball and talk maybe a little defensive philosophy here, as there's a lot of different offenses you have to go against in the ODAC. You've got an option offense, you've got balanced offense, you've got as coach as one of the other coaches called Randolph Macon, a Wisconsin style big and going to bruise you up a little bit, and then we got offenses that throw the football and a little bit of an in between short passing game, long passing game with some of the other things. What's the difference that you've seen in now, I believe, your 4th year in the league, seeing what you see from the offenses here to where you've adapted your defense and kind of changed the game a little bit, at least at Guilford College, come to defense, but maybe in the league a little bit, to where we see more teams going with a defensive back heavy defensive structure?
Well, I think the philosophy of what we do and what we brought to Guilford was speed. And that starts up front. I mean, a lot of the guys we recruit that came in as linebackers are now playing up front on the defensive line. We have some safeties that are now, we're playing linebacker and so forth, but we really build it on speed. So what you're able to do is be able to, when you go against an option program, maybe you're not as big, but you're fast to the ball. The same with the passing style. I mean, again, that ball can only travel so fast. So again, if you have speed, you can make up different grounds and different kind of defenses, whether it's zone or man. So, and then the other part of it is the more defensive backs you have on the field, the more you can disguise your coverages to confuse quarterbacks. Obviously, your experienced quarterbacks have an edge. They've been doing it long enough. But when you're going against an inexperienced quarterback, sometimes that's a challenge to take 3 days to really evaluate what we're doing. And because of the fact that we have so many coverages, one week we may run a select few, and then the next week we may run something totally different. So what teams might prepare for is something that we might be able to do differently. So I think that has helped us. But I think it goes back to the same philosophy I took on defense we put on offense, with just multiple looks and multiple, doing multiple things out of multiple looks, and that are just kind of different. And then we do the same thing on special teams as well, and it's just kind of a philosophy we have.
Now let's finish up by here taking a look at the league right now. We see the log jam continuing from what we had last year at the top spot to, on paper, the Quakers have separated themselves, but we still have those 4 teams, the 3 teams are sitting there at number 2, but there are 37 all-conference kids back across just the league, players back across the league, and that includes those teams that aren't in that log jam or aren't in the top 4. Talk a bit about what you see from the league this year.
I think that because everybody's looking to kind of separate themselves at some point. I mean, I can't imagine everybody's not going to the season thinking, hey, this is the year that I'm going to make a step, or I'm going to make a jump, or we're going to let those teams beat. And shoot, we've been just Guilford for first couple of years that I've been here, that I think we snuck up on some people, and I'm sure that there's other teams that are thinking, just because you're picked fifth doesn't mean you can't finish in first. Just because you're picked third, you can't finish in first. I really think every season is a new season. It is what it is. It is a preseason, opinion type poll based on where people want to project. I mean, it feels great that people finally can look at Guilford and say, hey, they're a good football club. So obviously I'm proud to be able to say that we are, and I know our kids are going to be proud to see that. But like anything else, when you have those type of expectations, you got to live up to them. And it starts with camp coming up. So I think we're excited. I think we're excited to go into every opponent. Obviously we want to win our non-conference opponents just as much as we do our in-conference opponents, because winning's nice. And I think we all want to win. So I don't think there's any coach in this league that's looking to go out there and rebuild. I think everybody's looking to go in there and win. So it's going to be a fun year. I'm looking forward to it.
Well, Coach, I want to thank you for joining me, and good luck this season.
Great. Appreciate it. Thank you very much.